So I have a list of my attributes. There's really not a whole lot to, like as far as notes is concerned. I just have my list of attributes that I follow right here. And again, we're going to set up headers. We're going to set up dividers just like we did before. So I'm going to do I'm going to start with index. So I'm going to do index controls and override and displayable. Add. That's going to be my header. And then I'll do double underscore index underscore root underscore bend override, and my min and max I usually do as -10, maximum of 10 with a default of 0. Okay, you can always change these later if you forget to do this or whatever. But again, as I said before, if you skip like the mid or something like that and you don't realize it until later, you can't reorder that I've found. You cannot reorder the position of your attributes, right? So you want to make sure that you get these created at the very least properly. If you forget to do the min and max, that's not a big deal. You can always add that later. So double underscore index end bend override -10 10 and then double underscore index underscore curl. We're going to have a curl attribute -10 10, and we're going to do double underscore index underscore root underscore spread. We're going to have spreading of the individual finger as well. And we're going to do that for all of these. So I have all 5 of these attributes are going to be basically on each finger, right? So I have single underscore middle controls override displayable, and that's going to separate that out. And then I'll do double underscore mid root bend -10 10 double underscore mid bend mid end bend mid curl and root spread. So that's all the middle controls. I'm going to do pinky controls. Override displayable. Another separator. Same thing. Pinky. Root bend. Key mid bend. Key end bend. Key curl. And key root spread. So that's pinky. And then we have our thumb. Thumb controls. Thumb root bend. This one's going to be slightly different. Thumb mid bend. Thumb end bend. Thumb curl. And thumb swing. That's going to be the only difference on this. That's going to be that. And then we have our presets, because we're going to create a set of presets. Single underscore all cap presets. Override displayable. And for this one, we're going to do double underscore fist. Also with a -10, 10. Double underscore spread. -10, 10. And then you can choose your own. You need one more. So you could do like rock, paper, scissors. You could do piece. You could do, you know, rock on for like heavy metal, whatever thing. Just keep it family friendly. And technically, we don't need a minimum on that of -10. We're just going to turn it on, turn it off for piece, unless you see a need for your additional one. We will need it for the fist and spread, because we just need it. But for piece and for Spock and for, you know, rock, paper, scissors and things like that, I don't really see a need for a negative. If you see a need, you know, feel free to do it. So that's all of them. That's all of our attributes. And that's why, you know, it would help to be able to duplicate this to the other side. But we didn't do it that way. So now we do our set driven key. I'm going to save as, because I don't want to have to go through all that again. So this is going to be number 35. And then key, set driven key, set. Making sure I don't have any questions on the chat. Our driver is our controller. So we load driver. Boom. There's all our attributes. And the attributes don't include the separators, right? So that's a plus. You know, you don't have to like fiddle through those, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the index, and I'm going to select all three joints here. You don't have to do them all at the same time, but I'm just going to do all three joints here because all of my attributes here are going to have the default set at 0, right? All of my controls, all of my joints, my curl, my root spread is going to all be set at the default of 0. So I'm just going to have the, and this is going to be rotate on Z, right? So index root bend will be, I called it base on my joint, so just don't get confused. Rotate Z, root, base, key, mid, key, end, key. For the curl, it's going to be all three default. And for the root spread, it's going to be the base joint, rotate Y, because we're going to be doing this, right? So I'm just going to key. That's it for basically locking in my default positions on these attributes, right? So mid, root to root or base, root to root, mid to mid, end to end, curl to all three of them, and then the root spread to the base rotate Y, right? So that's, again, that's just locking in the defaults, right? And then for the bend of the root, I'm just going to go as far as it seems comfortable on this. I always do a positive bend, and technically I already screwed up by rotating that first. I want to set my attributes because as soon as I change this value, and let me change my animation settings, because my animation settings are set by default on why am I missing that? Tangent weights. Auto span? That's interesting. I'm just going to set it to default spline. I don't know what auto span is. That's legacy. I don't know what that is. That's different. I'm just going to set it to spline because we're dealing with animation keys. And if you've done any animation blocking, you may have it set to flat and stepped, which basically allows you to do just the poses, and it pops from pose to pose, right? Didn't we deal with that, CJ, last week? Maybe it was somebody else. Where, like, if you set your set-driven key, it'll stay in that position until it hits the next value that the key is on, and it'll jump to that new pose rather than have a transition between those poses. So if I make sure that these are set to spline, all of my keys, actually, I should actually, in this case, I probably should set this to linear, because spline will ease in and out of those positions, right? And I want a constant rate of speed in these transitions, right? Basically what that, let me just, you know what, I'll just do it and show you, right? So I'll hit save on that rather than, I was going to open up Photoshop. I don't need to deal with that. In order to show you, I have to set my first keys. So I want to make sure that my attribute is set to 10, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and set that to 10 on, I'll go ahead and set it to 10 on all of these except for root spread. Root spread I'm going to deal with later, okay? So on my root bend, I want to, again, rotate this to a comfortable position. And this is going to be on rotate Z for my base root bend. I'm going to hit key, and I want to show you the animation graph editor. Okay, you should know the graph editor from working with your ball bounce. Okay, when you have it set to spline, it's going to ease into the transition, and usually it'll be something like this. You'll see it easing into the transition between those two. So when I actually move this, can't really tell without actually keying the animation, but it will slowly start the movement and then it'll slowly bring it to a halt, right? I don't necessarily want that. I want it to be a constant rate of speed when I set my keys, right? So what I want to do on this, let me select that again. What I want to do on this is I want to have my settings for my preferences should be linear. And it didn't seem to be linear when I created this. That's strange. So I'm going to select these keys and I'm just going to hit the linear button, which is right here. It looks like a line, or you can go to tangents, linear, and that makes it a constant rate of speed, right? If you remember from, I don't know, algebra, where you have delta is the change over time, right? Things like that. That's basically what this is. This is a constant rate of speed where as time goes on, it changes from 0 to 1 at a constant pace, right? So when I adjust my root bend, or that's mid root bend, sorry. When I adjust my root bend, it now will go at a constant rate of speed should I be doing this on a keyframe over time, right? So that's my root bend. When I set it back to 0, it's at the default pose. This is probably the most important part, is making sure that your 0 has a keyframe on it so that when you zero out your attributes, it goes back to that default pose, okay? I'll go ahead and do the mid bend, and I'll set my mid bend to, it's already set to 10. I'll go ahead and rotate that down to what looks comfortable. Mid bend, mid joint, key. Test your attributes. It works. I can go in and adjust my my joint keys afterwards, right? If I want to adjust that, I can do that later. I don't have to do that now. I did do it now, but I don't have to, right? And I'll go ahead and zero that out. Did I zero it out? There we go. Okay. And end bend, same thing. I'm just going to set that to a comfortable position, give or take. End bend to end, rotate Z, key, just like that. And again, that should work individually, right? So if I highlight all three of these, I should get a curl, just like that. Now, this is not how you do your curl, right? When you're setting this up, you cannot have your curl attribute control the root, mid, and end bend attributes, right? It has to be directly to the joint. I went through a process of doing that a while back, and for some reason I drew a blank and I connected the curl to this, and I was like, that should be easy. I just set it like that. Nope, that's wrong, because then I lose this individual control, right? So for the index curl, I'm going to just select all three joints. I'm going to rotate it down, and I'm going to, again, put it into a curl that is comfortable, right? Okay, so if I want this to go a little bit farther, I can do that. If I want that to go a little bit farther, I can do that, right? Whatever makes sense for the proper pose. Now I have a little bit of a weighting lift there, so I could probably it would probably be touching, because your finger can almost do that. Mine can. But that's fine. Whatever's comfortable is fine. And then for the curl, I have it set already to 10. I highlight all three of these with rotate Z, key it, and then I test it, and something didn't work. Oh, I keyed the wrong attribute. Let me undo that. Curl to 10, select curl, all three joints, rotate Z, key, and then test it. What's going on here? I have curl set to 0. These were all three selected. Rotate Z, 0 that out. Key it on 0. Yep. And then set my curl to 10, and it works. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but for some reason it didn't key the default pose, or somehow I overwrote it and didn't realize I overwrote it, right? So now I have the curl from 0 to 10. I still have individual controls, except for this finger, this here. Okay, let me just, wow, okay. I'm really doing a great job here. All right. End bend, set to 0, default, and rotate Z, 0 key, and then end bend to 10, end joint, rotate down. I'm happy. Key it. What is going on? Why is it doing that? Let me look at my graph editor. And bend. Should be at 0. For rotate Z. The next curl. And bend at 0. Index curl. End. Rotate Z. 0. Key. Index curl at 10. Not index curl. What am I doing? End bend. At 0. End joint at 0. And bend. Rotate Z. Key. And bend at 10. That seems to be working. Yay. Sorry about that. Okay, let me just make sure I didn't screw something else up. Mid bend by itself. Yes. Root bend by itself. Yes. Index curl, all 3. Nope. I overwrote my index curl. So let me just rotate that up. And for my index curl, end joint, that's at 10, end joint, rotate Z, key. I shouldn't have gotten rid of that. Seriously. Curl. Z. Key. So now I have the curl. Oh my God, seriously, what is going on? End bend at 0. Index end joint at 0. End bend, joint. Good, thank you. Jeez. You're not the only one that has issues. All right. So root works. Sorry. Root works by itself. Mid works by itself. End works by itself. Curl works by itself. I need the negatives. So usually for the negatives, what I do is I'll take I want to set my my attributes to -10 first. Okay. So I'm going to set those. Again, I'm doing the spread separate. So I'm going to set my root, mid, end, and index curl attributes at -10 first. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all 3 of these joints. I'll go ahead and load driven again just to have them in there. And I'll give them a negative rotation that looks comfortable for a character. Okay. So with my root bend at -10, I'll select my base joint, rotate Z, and I'll key it. Mid bend, mid joint, rotate Z, key it. End bend, end joint, rotate Z, key it. Curl, all 3, rotate Z, key it, right? That way every negative ends at this position, right? Okay. So when I take all of these and zero them out, it should go back to 0. When I do the root negative, it should go up to there. When I do the bend negative, it should go up to there. When I do the end, it should go up to there. When I do the index curl negative, it should do all of them, right? So sorry about all that. That was insane. About to destroy somebody. Now, the root spread, again, is only going to be the root y rotation. Okay? So I usually say if I'm doing an attribute that is equal to the name of what it is, in this case, spread, if it is spreading apart, it is a positive value in my opinion, how I do things. Okay. Makes sense to me, right? As an animator, it makes sense. If it says spread, I'll do a positive to get the spread, right? The opposite, the negative value, will rotate them in, right? So that's a negative spread, in my opinion, right? Which means that the pinky will go one direction and the index will go the opposite direction, right? Okay, so with my root spread, I have already, I believe, I'm just going to do it, just confirm, you know, with my root spread selected and at 0, the base joint rotate Y should have already been keyed, and it is, but I'll go ahead and for the sake of, you know, confirming, I'll just key it again, right? Not a big deal. I set my root spread to +10, and I want this joint to go out, okay? Again, do it in a comfortable fashion, right? Again, only the base joint, key it, and I select this again, go to -10, and I'm going to bring this joint in to touch my middle finger, right? And it's already selected. Click key again, and then just test it, right? All the way to 0 should get you back to normal position, and to +10 should go out, just like that, right? For the other fingers, it's the same. Technically, at this point, I have everything happening properly for my index finger. Test them all individually. Highlight the word, middle click and drag, positive, negative, make sure it works, right? Highlight the curl, positive, negative, right? Root spread, positive, negative, right? Just go through and test each one individually, right? And you're going to do each one of these the same, right? Even when you have root spread, you're going to have pick a side for the middle finger. Is the spread going towards the pinky, or is the spread going towards the index finger? That's up to you, right? When it comes to a 3-fingered character, 3 fingers plus a thumb, right? I usually do a positive spread. I treat this more like the ring finger than I do the middle finger, right? I do it like that, right? That's up to you, right? Pinky, you know the same, right? Positive, negative, right? Now, I'm going to jump to the thumb because this is, I don't want to run out of time, and there's really no need to make a video for something as simple as this. Because, again, it's the same on every finger except for the thumb, and the same on both sides. So, for this, we're going to have, I'm going to go thumb root bend, okay? I'm going to go ahead and select all 3 joints. Load driven. thumb root, thumb base, rotate Z, key, mid, mid, key, end, key, curl. I'll just highlight all three, rotate Z, key. I'm going to leave swing alone. Again, we're just setting up our defaults. So, positive 10. I'll just go ahead and do all three to positive 10, right? I'm going to select all three of these joints. And again, I can select them all right here. I don't have to go through and click, right? Anything on this left column, on both of these that I click on, it'll select the object, right? So I can set my rotate Z in until it touches, right? This is kind of the maximum, right? So with my root bend set to positive 10, root, mid, and end actually, set to positive 10, I can just highlight my base, root bend, rotate Z, key, mid bend, mid, rotate Z, key, end, rotate Z, key. So now that should work for all three of those, going between 0 and 10. I want to set these to negative 10 and rotate it back to a point that, you know, is comfortable enough. Again, this is an animated character, so, you know, that's probably fine. Root, base, rotate Z, key, mid, mid, rotate Z, key, end, rotate Z, key. So now these three attributes should work just like that, right? If I zero this out, my curl should be for all three. The default, it's currently set to 0. I'm just again, just to make sure the default position is going to be at this point. I'm just going to key it just to restate. Set my curl to positive 10. Select all three joints, rotate it in. You know, it's okay if there's a little bit of geometry overlapping because this is flesh. It makes it look mushy, right? Key it. Take the hand, curl back out to negative 10. Highlight all three. Rotate it out. Key it. Now you have your full curl set up as well. Zero that out. Should go back to default. Swing is going to be, again, similar. Rotate Y. Or, for that matter, if you want your swing to be a little bit more natural, because that's not quite so natural, right? You could do all three attributes like that, right? So you could kind of like manually give it a specific position, right? I'm going to do that, right? If you want to apply it only to rotate Y, you can. I'm going to do it to, again, only my base joint on swing. Swing is not set yet. I did not set any keys for that, right? So I'm going to set my swing. It's currently at 0. Base joint, rotate. I'll do all three, rotate X, Y, Z, like I said. Okay. Currently swings at 0. I'm just going to key it. I'm going to set my swing to positive 10. That's going to swing it away. And select my base joint. I'm going to pull that. I want to do it in a way that makes sense. I don't want to spin it like that. I want to pull it away properly, right? Okay, so got that, key it. Go to -10. Pull that up and in. I could even bring it up a little bit. Key it. So now my swing works like that, right? For fist, spread, piece, right? All of these are going to be all the joints. So I select all of these. Load driven. By default, all of these are going to be rotate Z at 0. So they are all in their default pose. I key it. Again, making a fist is a +10 in my opinion. I'm going to select all of these but the thumb and rotate Z. And again, if you want to be a little bit more specific about your pose, that's fine. You can, like if I want to rotate my base knuckles in a little bit more to make it a little bit tighter, that's okay. And don't forget, when you punch someone, you want to put your thumb on the outside so you don't break your finger. And I'm just gonna, manually make this as tight as I want it to be. Pose it the way you want it to be. So I'm okay with that. Maybe take this up a little bit. Tighten it up a little bit. So there's that. My fist is at 10. Highlight all of them. And key that. I do a -10. I highlight all of them. I do a negative Z like that. Key that. So my fist should go like that. I've run out of time, and I don't have the physical, I don't have the printouts here. So if you want to print out, I can get that to you later. They're wanting us not to print as much anyway, which is fine. I don't like printing. But this is due on Thursday. Again, as you saw, it's about attention to detail, making sure that you don't key something you're not supposed to. It's about paying attention to what you're doing, as I obviously did not do for about 20 minutes, which is driving me nuts, right? Okay, so this is due on Thursday. It's not hard. It's just, again, it's attention to detail. Set up the hands for the character. This refers to pages 197 to 201. Follow the lecture in the class. Name your groups and name the objects in the scene. Do not create another Maya project directory for your current. Use your current directory for this project. Set up the hands for the character. Controls are 0 out, not translates as a joint. It's all the same thing. Rotation of your joints should be 0'd out. Unnecessary channels for each control should be locked down. For this control, everything should have been locked down already. Everything that you create is what you're going to use, right? So there's really no locking down for this. And again, the hand control should already follow your skin joint system. So there's really nothing to set up there either. It's literally just setting up the controls and making them work, right? Multiple versions of your work. My project directory scene file, 50 possible points. All fingers have their own individual working controls for 6. Hands have a working control for open, close, and fist, as well as individual finger controls for 6. All of the controls work together for 6. All assets move and scale with the rig, which should already be happening from last time, right? The hand controls should already move and scale already, right? So that should be a given. 6 points. Transformations frozen, history deleted for the character for 6. Again, there shouldn't be any history anyway, but there shouldn't be any transformation information either, right? That should be already locked down and zeroed out, right? 6 points. All the controls are named. Make sure it's named properly for 5. Same project directory, didn't create a new one for 5. Followed all directions, both verbal and written for 5. Critique for 5. Alrighty. That's basically it. I'm going to save that as version 36. Save as. Overwrite the final. And again, as I said before, if I want to go through once these are all done and where are my attributes? Oh, here they are. If I want to go through all of these, select all the joints after the fact. And in my animation graph editor, if I just select all keyframes and make sure that they're set to linear, boom, you saw a few adjust there, right? And that will make it so that they all move smoothly through the transition from pose to pose, right? So anyway, that's it. Any questions before we go? Online peeps? All right, I'll have the video up as soon as possible.